Hello, and now we complete the catch-up for my patrons with Genesis 1:3 from the Latin Vulgate. It's fairly small. Dixit, dixitque, dixit, dixitque Deus, fiat lux, et facta est lux. Dixitque. Okay. Anyway, the translation is, and God said, let light be, and light was made. Okay, well, let's look at it in a little bit more detail. So here's the way it lines up with it. Dixitque. Now, que is I don't know why Latin did this, but sometimes instead of using the freestanding word for and, like et, it would put a que on the end of a verb or something. So it doesn't have to be a verb, but dixitque, and said God, and God said. You may know the initials SPQR, which was on the Roman standard when they went into war and so forth. It stands for S, Senatus, the Senate, P, Populusque, and the people. So there's a que on Populusque, SPQ, that's the Q, and then Romani is Romans. Of the Roman people, that is. Interesting. It is interesting that the Romans would put the Q on, and instead of saying SPR, they said SPQR. That seems to suggest that they did actually think of que as an independent word. And of course, at that time, this would all have been one continuous series of letters. So it's a later decision to put the que on Dixit. Interesting. I wonder when that happened. I don't know. I'm a above average jack of all trades and a complete expert on nothing. Anyway, okay, so, and said God, fiat lux, let light be. You may have heard this expression, fiat lux. It has a history among educated people, and by that, that's a condescending way to put it, is it? Among the older people who, took Latin in high school. Everybody took Latin at high school at one time, I think, probably, or it was very common. So fiat lux is an expression often used in reference to the idea of God creating something out of nothing, or the idea of God's command um, by divine fiat. Have you ever heard that? By divine fiat, by divine let it be. Okay, and was made light. This facta est, which sounds like I'm cussing, but I'm not. Facta est is this is the fourth principal part of facio, which sounds like I'm cussing, but I'm not. Facio means I do or I make. And facta is the fourth principal part, which is the past participle. It means something like having been made. So it is having been made. It was done. Something like that. Okay, and this is the subject, looks, light. Okay, well, breaking down some stuff, dixit is the third principal part of dico, to speak. Dico, dicere, dixi, dictum. There are four principal parts to a Latin verb. What is a principal part? A principal part lets you know all of the chassis on which all of the trains are built, or all of the chassis on which all of the car models are built. If you know the four principal parts of a Latin verb, you can recognize that verb anywhere, probably. Okay, so this is the perfect one, which is the past tense in Latin. It is it is third person singular. Ha! It is. So this is third person singular. It is active. It is indicative. So he spoke. God spoke. God said, from Dico. Okay, what about fiat? Fiat is a car, but it's also third person singular. The T is the third person singular. And the verb is fio, which I think maybe somehow related to facio. Not anyway, but anyway, fio is a verb that means to become, something like that. It's the becoming verb, I would say. And so when you its infinitive is something like fiere. I think it's an e infinitive, a fiere. It's kind of a little bit like Spanish. If you're having Spanish or French kind of nightmares, that could be relevant. But anyway, so what you do to make a present subjunctive, is you switch the vowel from the infinitive to whatever the other one. So if this is an E infinitive, then to make the subjunctive, present subjunctive, you switch it to an A. So that's where the A comes from. That A tells you it's subjunctive, and that's why it's a command. Let light be. Because that's one of the functions of the subjunctive there. Okay, so and light was made. Again, facta is the perfect passive indicative. Well, actually, yeah. So to make a perfect passive, you're going to need two words in Latin. I'm sorry. So these two words together are considered a unit that is perfect passive. Okay, this a is feminine singular because looks is feminine singular, and it's going to be, so that's a feminine nominative singular. It's a predicate nominative because it comes after the verb, kind of. I'm sorry, you didn't want to know all this probably. So and light was made. So it's perfect passive as a unit. The facta by itself is a perfect passive participle, feminine nominative singular from facio. But in that complex taken together, they're perfect passive indicative third singular from facio. Well, that's probably way more than you wanted to know. But what we do know is that God said, let there be light, and there was light. Fiat lux. So may God give you light in your life today.